Hello, and thanks for joining me on another episode of Simply Saturday. My name is Julie, and this is Stamp with Julie Baum. For today's card, I got my inspiration from actually seeing another card with a similar look, but it was created in a different way. But it sparked my imagination, and so let me show you what I have in mind for today's card. We're going to be using paper from Celebratory Sips, although we're not using the cocktail or the drink paper. We're using this floral paper from that packet. All right, so I have this piece cut to 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches. Then, based on the colors that are in the paper, I chose cardstock colors. So we have a piece of bubble bath cardstock that is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. And I have my card base, which is 8 1/2 inches by 5 1/2 inches, scored and folded here at 4 1/4 inches. There's my card base. All right, then I chose one more color of cardstock from the colors in this beautiful paper, and that is Blackberry Bliss. So for that piece, I actually didn't even measure it. I grabbed a scrap. So my piece is 6 1/4 by 1 1/2 inches, and I'll show you how we get that texture on there in just a moment. Then I have a white piece for the inside of the card if you like, and that is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. Okay, so this is what I was imagining. We can go ahead and put these layers together for our fast and easy card. And then I will show you the final steps, which is the part that I was inspired by. It's an angle that we're going to use instead of everything vertical or horizontal. So we'll get to that in just a moment. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put my bubble bath piece onto the card front. And go ahead and put that piece of designer series paper on top of the bubble bath cardstock. At this point, I wanted to bring in that Blackberry Bliss piece and incorporate it into the card in such a way that it's just the backdrop for my sentiment. So I went ahead and ran this through the Glass and Gardens. There are 2 embossing folders as part of Glass and Gardens. So this is the floral one. The other one looks like crystal, like a cut glass. So I ran my Blackberry Bliss cardstock through this embossing folder to get that really nice floral texture. Now, the card that I had seen that kind of sparked my interest or my imagination had a piece going this way. The only reason I'm not going to do that is this piece would actually need to be a little bit longer so that it could completely go corner to corner. So since this piece is not long enough, and in fact, if this piece of cardstock was longer, we still would not get the entire impression from the textured, from the embossing folder. We wouldn't get the texture. So we have this piece. What I'm going to do is go ahead and use it vertically. I'm going to trim the ends because I don't want this end that has no texture, and I've got plenty down here. So I'm going to bring in my paper trimmer and trim the edge. Now you remember this DSP is 5 inches tall, and so I'm going to match the size of this to that 5 inches. So taking a little chunk off of this end, because I want it completely showing that texture, and then taking a smaller edge off of this side. My left side of the paper is now at the 5 inches. And there we have the perfect size piece. All right, this now can get placed here on the card. And because of that texture, I am going to use a little bit more glue than I normally would, just because it needs to sink down into all those grooves. I don't want it popping up. All right, so I'm going to place it there with still a little bit of the designer series paper showing to the left side of it. All right, and then what I was imagining is the sentiment, best wishes. Now I took that from Sunrise Sailing. So I like the size of it and I like that font. And so I wanted this to go on a piece. It's going to fit on here nicely. And then we're going to add this to the card, probably up here to the top. It could also go down here. All right, so what I did is I took my let's see, which dies are these? Yes, my Stylish Shapes dies. This one, knowing that that would be the right size. Okay. And I went ahead and cut that out. So if you don't have the Stylish Shapes dies, you simply can use a piece of cardstock in a rectangle that's about 2 3/4 inches long by a 1/2 inch. So you could just use a plain rectangle, or you could determine which stamped sentiment you're going to use and determine the little size paper so that it will work with your sentiment. Okay, so this works with Best Wishes, and I'm going to stamp it in Blackberry Bliss. Usually I stamp before punching or die cutting, but to make this go a little bit faster, I went ahead and cut my die cut out, and I'm going to hope for the best that I get my words centered. It's so much easier if you just stamp on a scrap, then put your die on it so it's perfectly lined up, and then cut it out. So this is a little bit backwards, but I think it's going to work just fine, and it's definitely an option if you prefer to do your die cutting first. All right, there we have it. It fits exactly, oh, just to size. I love it. All right, let's play with our placement here and figure out if we want this to be down here in the bottom third of the card, which now that I'm holding it there, I do kind of like, or up here in the top third. I think we're gonna go with this. Okay, now I've got a choice to make. We can either put this flat or we can pop it up with dimensionals. Let's just go ahead and pop it up. I have some, let's see, I have some regulars and some minis here. I think these regulars will fit just barely. All right, and then we're going to finish this with a little bit of trim and a gem. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put this right about there. And press it into place. Again, there's a lot of texture under here. I want to make sure that that dimensional squishes down into all that texture. Okay. Before we do our trim and add our gem, we're going to add one of these holographic resin dots. Before we do that, let's go ahead and do the inside piece of the card. So there's that white piece. Because I used a sentiment from Sunrise Sailing and there aren't any stamps that I really wanted to pull from any of the stamp sets, I decided to decorate the inside of the card with some more paper. So here I just have a strip that is a 1/2 inch wide. It's extra long, which is fine because we're going to go ahead and trim it, but I'm going to add that to my white cardstock. This is a lovely way to decorate your inside panel. You can stamp on it, you can add paper like we're doing, just something to dress it up. I'm going to place my silicone mat underneath here. Because this is extra long, it's going to definitely hang off of my paper. And I don't want that sticky going on my desktop. There we go. So that is on nice and straight. Any extra glue is on the silicone mat now, which won't hurt anything. And I have not made my workspace sticky. Then with some scissors, we'll just trim off that extra length. Flipping it over so you can see what you're doing is the easiest way to do it. There we have the inside of the card. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put this panel in its place. A little bit of multi-purpose liquid glue. And that looks really nice on the inside of the green card. Okay, back to the front. I'm going to take the linen thread, pull out several inches, and I'm just going to pull it through my fingernails just to kind of get some of those kinks out. So it's a little bit straighter, easier to work with. And I'm going to tie just a simple bow. I'm leaving it on the spool until I've made my bow because I don't want to cut off an extra long length and waste it. So this is kind of a good way to do it, working your bow towards the end of the length. I could even get closer than that. Let's do it again. I'm going to start out a little bit closer to the tail and save myself even more. All right, once you've got it basically built, you just need to tighten it up and then adjust your loops. To the size you want them, and of course we'll trim the tails. All right, there we go. Now I don't have a lot of waste. All right, the linen thread is going to give it a little bit of a earthy, natural feel. And so I think I'm going to attach my bow right there. Let's do that with a glue dot. This will be easy to do by just pulling one glue dot up off of the roll. I'm going to go ahead and roll it into a tiny ball and then place it right here where the knot of my bow is going to go. And press that in. That's going to hold it. Our glue dots act like a little dab of hot glue, but without being hot, and you don't have to worry about burning your fingers. But it's the best way to add ribbon and bows. It is a great choice. All right, there we have it. And now let's take our holographic resin dots. These are kind of fun because they pick up whatever colors they are with. And so I'm going to choose to use 3 of these. I'll use this medium size down here to continue grounding our elements down here. And maybe a smaller one up here by my bow. I don't want it like centered right with the middle of the bow, so I'm going to put it off to the side a little bit of the bow. 1, 2, and let's go ahead and use another medium size one, and we'll position that one up in here. This would be a good design if you wanted to use 5 embellishments, because you could kind of keep working your way up the card. That would be beautiful too. I'm going to stop at 3 for this card, and we have a cute font with our sentiment, some beautiful paper, some texture, and some extra little beauties. And there is our fast and easy card for today. I'm going to put a bunch of information for you below this video in the drop down box. And thank you so much for hanging in here with me today. And until next time, happy stamping.